This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County. This is episode number 18. I'm Fred Wallace, and my co-host is Denise Reed. Coming up on the program today, we're going to be joined by tax specialist Zachary Brush, who is representing MNP today. We'll also have a nice video coming up from the Meaford Hospital Foundation. Our host charity today is Bright Shores Foundation, and again, you can always get more information at brightshoresfoundation.ca about Bright Shores Hospital or Health Systems Foundation. Before we start each show, Denise always talks about living well, giving well, and what we're about and what we're hoping you can do to help us.
So last week we had Willard Vanderploeg from the Bright Shores Hospital, or Bright Shores Systems. I have a little troubles getting the new name still, but Bright Shores Systems Foundations, and Willard looks after all the foundations for Bright Shores. And he was kind of with him and Stuart Reeve from the Community Foundation, kind of came up with this living well, giving well thought process, and trying, how are we going to reach people? How more? And since COVID, that's changed. And so with Rogers, partnering with Rogers, they've came up with this idea. And living well, giving well, we talk about it. How do we live well, if that's personally or giving in our community, volunteering, donating, and giving well? How do we look after ourselves in the future? We've had lawyers. We're going to have a tax specialist today. We've had, volunteers. How is that look for you, living well, giving well, and being the best you can be in your community?
And we always encourage people to visit willpower.ca, get all kinds of valuable information there, and as Denise said, talk to a professional. And to that end, we have a professional with us today, Zachary Brush. Zachary, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Zachary, you're with MNP.
Yes.
When we first set this up, you were going to be with BDO.
Yes.
So can you tell me the difference between BDO and where you are now at MNP,
Yeah.
and how that alteration came to be?
Yeah, for sure. So BDO kind of made a national decision that they'd like to focus on more strategic clients that service their future goals, and MNP is more focused on the mid-market, and they're more Canadian-based. And so we're going through a bit of a transition now where some of the smaller offices are now joining the MNP umbrella. So we're still focusing on the mid-market that we are known for, and still servicing all the same clients that we've built relationships over the last 30, 40, 50 years in the Great Bruce community. So ideally, no real change to our clients, but we'll be able to better serve them now under the MNP umbrella.
Yeah, like that's what I was going to say. I mean, because BDO is my people for my taxes, and
You've
that's
got a convert here.
Yeah, I'm sitting going, but nothing's going to change. It's basically the name that's changed, and I guess on sound, we have to admit we are the smaller center that maybe BDO was trying to change up, I guess.
Yeah.
Would that include Wyerton? That's a whole Grey Bruce.
Yep, all of Grey Bruce, all of our 11 offices, plus 10 others throughout Canada have been included in the transition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zachary, we're labeling you as a tax specialist. Is that accurate, or tell us about your work on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, for sure. So my official title is Senior Manager of Tax. To get the tax specialist designation, I had to go through special schooling called in-depth tax, and I have to work within the tax profession for the majority of my time. So that means I'm working on corporate reorganizations, I'm working on estate planning, as well as tax compliance for personal tax returns, corporate tax returns, trust tax returns, pretty much everything under the sun that says tax that isn't international, I'm pretty much involved in.
So you're a base accountant.
Yeah.
So what are the CPA?
Yep.
Okay. Because it's changed over. There's been a CA. My husband was a CMA.
Yep.
But now you're all into CPA, right?
Yes, in 2011 they made the merge.
Chartered Professional Accountants.
Exactly.
We always have these letters, and I always say, what do they actually mean?
It means when you need help, you go see Zachary.
Exactly. So honestly, when you start talking like, ooh, for most viewers, like tax implications and figures and that are just not my gig. But so I mean, when I give to my donation to the hospital foundation, and that I get a tax receipt.
Yep.
Okay, right away, tax receipt. But how does that go towards when we get our taxes done at the end of the year? Like, so what I'm trying to get at is it better to give anytime during the year here, or is there a special time we should be giving it, or can you give me some information on that?
Yeah, so as far as donating throughout the year, it doesn't really make a difference for an individual taxpayer if they want to donate at the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, or any time throughout. If you're doing it as a tax planning maneuver, it might make more sense towards the end of the year if you have a better idea of what your income is going to be for the year.
Okay.
But if you decide that you don't actually want to utilize that donation in the current year, you don't have to claim the credit in that year. You're allowed to carry them forward for another 5 years into the future. So if you know that your income is going to be significantly higher in the next few years, maybe it makes sense to put it on your tax return this year, but not actually claim what you're entitled to, and claim it in the year when your income is going to be a bit higher.
Zachary, do you see that a lot where people can project that they're going to have a higher income down the line?
Sometimes, if you know, maybe nobody has a looking glass and can see for sure when they're going to pass away, but usually a lot of individuals, their largest tax bill comes when they pass away, and they're deemed to have disposed of all their assets, and now they have a huge amount of income and maybe not as much deductions to offset it. And if you can see maybe that's coming on the horizon, then making a donation and saving it for a later time makes sense. If you know you're about to retire and you're going to get a retirement bonus and you want to take that all into income in the next year, then maybe your donations in the current year you save to the next year as well. Or you just get a regular bonus at the end of the calendar year. Usually that's not taken into income until the next year as well.
Okay.
So saving your donations to offset that might make the most sense.
So I'm looking at, do I need my financial advisor to help me with this too? Do you guys work together, like financial advisors and in your job? Is that a good thing, or should people know before they come to you, or should it have already be done by their financial advisor and give the information to you?
I think it's best to reach out to both kind of in tandem, because we both want what's best for our clients, but sometimes we have competing interests, and where what's best from the tax perspective might not be best from the income earning perspective.
Okay.
But we can usually work together to come up with what makes the most sense for each individual client.
How highly do you recommend making a donation? And in Denise's case, she probably has 4 or 5 different charities. From a tax standpoint, how highly do you recommend that actual aspect of a person's life during the course of any given year?
Quite a bit. Tax credits for donations are quite substantial. So to put some numbers to it, on the first $200 of donations federally, you get 15% of your money back in the form of a tax credit. And in Ontario, you get an extra about 5%, 5.05 being the exact number. For donations above $200, it jumps up to about 40% federal and Ontario combined.
Okay.
29% federal and about 11% Ontario. So that means if you donate $200, you're getting $40 back on your tax return, generally speaking. If you donate another $100 on top of that, you're getting an additional $40 right off the bat. So you've doubled it without having to double your donation outlay. So you get to help, meaningful causes, but the government steps in and gives you a little break on your taxes as well, which is a great way to...
So it's not like you're getting that money back. You're just getting that on your income tax at the end of the year, a taxable refund credit.
Technically called a taxable credit. So the difference between deductions and credits are deductions reduce the amount of income that you pay taxes on, and credits reduce the amount of taxes you pay on that income. So the donations that you make will reduce your overall tax bill for the year. You'll only get a refund if you've prepaid that tax ahead of time.
Right.
So it's very important to keep all your donation tax receipts.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
In order to, and that's why there's a lot of, say this is your tax receipt, with the number in that, because then you can give that to your accountant if you do it, or my son, who's simple tax, does his own.
Yep.
But very important to keep that going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that when we talk about I think the tax credits and the tax receipts and all that, once again, I'm looking at my professionals to help me with that, because it's way out of my range. So like you join with you and your financial advisor, and we just last week had Joanne Horton as lawyer, for that too, because now, we've passed away.
Right.
Now we have a will.
Yep.
what does that look like? Do the lawyers contact you, or how does that work with the tax kind of situation?
So, have you already passed away in this scenario, or are you?
Yeah,
Are you still with us? Or?
I've passed away.
Denise is gone.
I'm passed away.
Sorry,
So-
Brian.
So then we as professionals have to interpret your will and follow it, to the letter of the law. So if you put in your will, I'd like to leave 20% of the residue of my estate to a charity of my choice, then we as the accountants can assist with the tax filing side of things, which typically could mean either a donation's claimed by the estate and maybe carried back to your terminal tax return if there was a large tax bill there and the donation happened after you died, or potentially results in some amendments to that terminal tax return itself, depending on how it's all structured and whatnot.
Finally, Zachary, before we take a break on Living Well, Giving Well, how much peace of mind do you offer from MNP to people like Denise and myself who aren't tax experts and have dealt with, or I have dealt with parents that have passed away and left an estate?
Well, I mean, I try to provide as much peace of mind as I can. I try to, take what's very technical, being the Tax Act, a 1,000-page document that nobody truly understands, and try to put it in layman's terms for everyone to understand. And quite a few people do leave meetings saying, I'm glad you explained it to me that way. I feel much better about everything. I came into the meeting and I was stressed that I thought everything was wrong, but now I feel much better, and I, trusted my professionals to help me, plan everything that needed to be planned. So.
And that's one of the things about this program, Denise, is we always say hire a professional, and when it comes to taxation, MNP, and Zachary Brush is our guest. We're going to be back with Zachary on Living Well, Giving Well. Coming up, we have a video, and we're going to showcase the Meaford Hospital Foundation. Again, if you'd like to find out more about the Meaford Hospital Foundation, simply go to mhfoundation.ca, and you can find out about the C-ARM campaign and how you can make a memorial donation and support the Meaford Hospital. We'll be back with more. You're tuned to Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County.
Hi, I'm Diane Hilliard, and I'm a director at the Meaford Hospital Foundation. The foundation works with the community to ensure that our physicians, nurses, and technical staff always have the equipment they need to provide expert and compassionate patient care. Contrary to popular belief, the province does not fund new medical equipment and other capital needs. 100% of the funding for those pieces of equipment are done through the Hospital Foundation with the support of our community. Donations mean faster, more accurate diagnoses, less invasive procedures, enhanced safety, less pain, and quicker recovery. The result is a faster return to home and to regular activities. If we have up-to-date equipment and facilities, we will attract and retain the medical professionals that we so desperately need. In 2023-2024, we had more than 13,500 ER visits, over 10,500 radiology procedures, 600,000 lab tests, and almost 6,000 inpatient care days. Patient care always comes first. Whether you give a one-time gift, become a monthly donor, or name the foundation in your will, you'll help to ensure that the foundation always has the financial resources to meet the needs of the hospital. With your support, we'll keep quality health care close to home.
Welcome back to Rogers Television, Grey County. This is Living Well, Giving Well. I'm Fred Wallace, along with Denise Reed. We just saw a video from the Meaford Hospital Foundation, which is one of more than a dozen charities and organizations that have partnered with Living Well, Giving Well. And again, we direct you to mhfoundation.ca for the Meaford Hospital Foundation. And we also encourage you to visit willpower.ca for more about giving in your will. Before we get back to Zachary Brush, I invest with Raymond James, a fellow by the name of Paul Bouzis out of Midland, Ontario, and thus I get their literature that's sent to me. And it's talking about last month when December had Giving Tuesday. And I just want to read a little piece here that we got from Raymond James. It turns out that giving isn't just about helping others, It's about finding joy and purpose for ourselves as well. Research shows that those who give are not only happier and healthier, but have a greater sense of purpose in life. It's a beautiful reminder that generosity doesn't just benefit others, it enriches our own lives in ways we might not expect. So again, we encourage you to visit willpower.ca and also leave a charitable gift in your will when you're putting your financial affairs together with your lawyer and your professionals. And speaking of professionals, we have Zachary Brush with us today from MMP, Senior Manager Tax Specialist?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I got the title right, Zachary. We're not, tax time is a few months away.
Yes.
But preparation should already be done or in the process of being done?
You should always be thinking about your tax bill in the back of your mind, probably throughout the year, not just waiting until April when you're ready to file your tax return, because by the time April rolls around, it's really too late to do anything. If you're looking to donate, the donations that matter are the ones that you made during the calendar year, if you want to claim them on that year's tax return, or the ones you've made in the 5 years prior if you haven't claimed them already. There's some planning we could do maybe after year end, like RSPs. You can put money into those 60 days after the end of the year.
I was going to say I thought there was some you could do in January,
Yeah.
but it's 60 days that you
Yeah.
have, but it's RSPs.
And that's about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
RSPs.
you really want to think about it during the year and kind of get all your ducks in a row before the end of the year to lock in what your tax bill is really going to be come March or April.
Having said that, how much do you scramble in the last week of March and early April?
We scramble quite a bit in March and April. It's known as busy season for a reason, where we're working a lot of overtime, trying to get everything out the door, because we're not working on just personal tax returns. We're working on all of our corporate clients as well. The T4, T5 filing deadline's the end of February. The trust tax return filing deadline's the end of March. So we really have to scramble and get a lot done in those first few months, where we end up working about 60% of our year, time-wise, in the first real 5 or 6 months of the year.
Is it fun or is it a hassle?
It's an enjoyable kind of stress for me, and maybe I'm a little weird like that, where when I feel like I'm actually getting work done, I'm feeling fulfilled, and I feel good about what I'm doing, and I know I'm providing a service to my clients that they need and they want and they appreciate. But I also enjoy taking some time off and going camping and things
May
like
1st.
that. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I guess also too it has to do with, and I know I've got a few reminders in February. Please bring in your stuff. Yeah. You need your clients to be bringing in their information for you to be able to process it, right?
Exactly.
So we in our notes that it's called. They were talking about testamentary gifts.
Yep.
And that's already like through a will.
Yep.
So what are testamentary gifts?
So there's two kind of trusts in Canada: inter vivos, testamentary. Inter vivos is a trust you set up while you're still alive. Testamentary is a trust that's set up as a result of your death. So a gift in your will would be a testamentary gift. It's something that you've dictated to happen after you've passed away, and it's dealt with by your estate, not while you're still alive.
Now, is that jewelry? Is that just RSPs? Is that stocks? What is that? Anything?
Well, I don't know too many charities that might accept jewelry as a donation, but
Right.
you can definitely put them as named beneficiaries in your RSP or
Okay.
RIF accounts. If you have life insurance, you can name them as beneficiaries as well, and then you don't necessarily need to include them in the will. They're already going to get a direct payment out of those
okay.
sorts of accounts. But you can also name them in your will, and you can bequeath any sort of assets that you feel appropriate, and then it's up to the charity if they actually want to accept it or not, or if they prefer it be sold and take the cash as well.
So they could either do the work, if the charity that says stocks, they can do the work, or it goes through the lawyer to the accountant to the charity.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah, and someone would have to sell it as well, for sure. And then we
Right.
take care of the reporting. The lawyer would make sure we're okay, we're following the law, and things like that.
Is it more beneficial then? I mean, if you have that, is it more beneficial to do all that stuff while you're living, or when you've passed away?
It's certainly easier for you to take care of while you're living. Being involved in quite a few estates, it's usually a lot to handle, not only the emotional impact of someone you care about passing away, but now you have to deal with all their finances as well, and it can be a bit overwhelming in that regard. But usually when you pass away is when you have the most amount of assets to give.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Ideally.
Hopefully, ideally, yes.
But if you have the capacity to do it while you're still living, doing it while you're alive would be easier, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from the jewelry, you mentioned stocks, and the example that we've used here on this program is 1,000 units of BCE,
Sure.
which might not be the best example to use right now at this particular time, but let's say we were going to leave that to the Meaford Hospital Foundation.
Yep.
Tell me about the complexity or the simplicity of doing that, Zachary.
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of charities will accept publicly traded stocks because from a tax perspective, it's quite advantageous to donate securities instead of selling them and donating the cash. So if you're still alive and you donate the securities, any appreciation on those securities, you don't have to pay tax on. It doesn't come into your income. So if we use the 1,000 share example, if you bought them for $500 and you donate them when they're worth $1,000, you don't have to take that $500 gain into income at all.
Okay.
If you were to sell it and then donate $1,000 in cash, now you have a $500 gain that you have to pay tax on as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
And does it get more complex with the BCE example when you bought it for 20,000 and now it's worth 13?
So, interestingly enough, if you donate them at a loss, you're allowed to claim the loss. If you donate them at a gain, you don't have the income, but if you have a loss, you still get to claim that loss against any other capital gains that you have as well. So you're not shot in the foot if you do donate a security where you've got
Yeah.
depreciation.
Yeah, sorry BCE, but you're killing me.
Yeah. But I guess if it's when you're alive, you know that, but when you're
Yeah.
deceased, you know, you don't. But in that, right in itself, what you just said there, I understand that just because I had a conversation with my husband last week about something similar, and my daughter, who's a lawyer in Toronto, we were talking about this and those losing and whatever. But I don't understand that really. So I need my accountant. I need my financial advisor. I need my lawyer. And that's where, I still think it's, so important to talk to the people that know what they're doing. Hopefully you've got a good relationship there, right? Yeah, and that we know I'm trusting that you're doing the best for me.
Yeah.
How big is your clientele at MNP, both office-wise and for yourself? How many tax returns would you be looking after come your crazy season?
So in the Owen Sound office, we have about 1,800 personal tax returns. Wyerton is similar as well. I can't speak to the other offices in our group. I don't know exactly. I believe I had heard that MNP in the transition was picking up about 26,000 plus clients nationwide, including corporations, individuals, et cetera. And I know we service quite a few in Owen Sound that range from people who've been really successful in their careers and they've built $100 million businesses to people who are just starting out and they're hitting the ground running and they're just looking to figure out what works best for them now, and then they'll grow larger later.
And I think that, in last week's show, we were talking about going online to do your wills. And, me, old school, no, I'm not doing that because I don't know how to do that. But we're talking about generationally, that, the younger, couples or whatever, they're doing their own. My son does his own taxes, but it's simple.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the assets yet. But I think as we get more complicated, and hopefully if your career goes well or you invest properly, not maybe in BCE,
At this moment.
Yeah,
then maybe, you need to go to an expert.
for sure,
And-
absolutely.
yeah.
How much face-to-face consultation do you do with your clients? And I asked this just because we had Joanne Horton here, and when Joanne was talking about setting up a will, there was a lot of face-to-face involved with doing it. Do you do that, or do you just need to see the numbers and see them properly?
Yeah, I'm happy to be as face-to-face as the client wants to be. Sometimes they prefer a phone call, sometimes they prefer an email, sometimes they really want to walk through the numbers together, and I'm happy to service all those needs. Personally, I'm pretty good with emails and a paper trail, and that's what makes me comfortable because I can rely and fall back on previous information. But it's always good to get that personal connection as well, for sure, and really, put a face to the name and see the value of the service that I'm providing.
Know your client,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's, I think that, maybe all the work, whatever, but you had, previously talked about when somebody coming into the office feeling pretty kind of nervous about things. But if, because it's complicated, give them some of the information, and to be able to leave, you feeling better because you've relieved them of that kind of tension, and your client going, hey, this is going to be okay, right? I think.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Absolutely.
because not everybody, and I go back to, and maybe it's just me, Fred, I don't know.
No,
I don't understand a lot of the tax, implications and that, and I rely on people that are knowledgeable about it to help me do the best I can in order to, whether it's save money, save taxes from the government, or whatever.
Is it an easily explained process? Especially when somebody dies, and again, I've been through this in 2 occasions with both a father and a mother passing away. Is it an easily explained process to the Wallace family of what happens tax-wise?
When someone passes away?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. It's not too complicated high level. If you pass away, you're deemed to have disposed of everything you owned for what it's worth on the day you passed, unless you have a surviving spouse and you left everything to that spouse. The easiest way is you have a surviving spouse, everything just moves from A to B, and it's like you were never really there for tax purposes. So whatever income you earned up to when you passed, you owe tax on, and then you're done, you walk away. The last spouse to pass, though, if you owned securities, if you owned your home, if you had a RIF or an RSP, all that's deemed to have been sold, and all that comes into income at one time. And that can result in a large tax bill on one tax return. And then if you earn any income after you pass away, that then goes on an estate tax return that has a requirement to file until everything's finally distributed, turned into cash, or passed on to the beneficiaries it was meant to go to.
Zachary, thanks for joining us today. John's giving us the signal that we're coming pretty close to the end of Living Well, Giving Well in episode number 18. Finally, your number one criteria or priority for anybody that wants to make a donation in their will going forward from a tax implication standpoint?
From a tax standpoint, I'd say make it clear as day what you want to give and how much you want to give in your will, and we can handle it from there.
Okay, and how do people get in touch with you?
They can give me a phone call at 519-376-6110.
And with the change, you've still got room for more clients.
Absolutely.
Isn't that great? Zachary Brush, thank you very much for joining us. Denise,
Thank you.
That's another episode of Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County. On our next edition, we'll be joined by Judy Rich. Judy is a lawyer in Southampton, and our sponsor will be the Huron Shores Hospice. Our charity sponsor this time around was Bright Shores Health Systems Foundation. Again, in your will or in your donations, please think of them or all of our charities. And again, we guide you to willpower.ca to find out just how easy it is to leave a legacy of your life with a charitable organization or group in our community that says a great deal about you. Thanks again for joining us today on Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
With Rogers TV, you can cheer on the home team from the comfort of your living room. We'll head to the rink, the field, the court, or the pitch, so you don't have to. Tune in and cheer on your local amateur athletes on Rogers TV.
When I was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, I was deteriorating in front of everybody. All my life I lived with sickle cell. I went through a tragic crisis that put me in a coma for 3 weeks. While I was in there, I received a lot of blood to put me in a healthier state.
I was given the plasma then through IVIG. Even though that happened so long ago, it still has a massive impact on me today.
Thanks to donors, I can live another life.
Because of you, I will be seeing my grandchild.